Welcome back to the Rollout. I'm Jeff Pratt, joined always by Trent Henrich. Trent, it's just you and I today, neither Nick or Jay hopping on the pod. How are you feeling about these week's games?
Coming off another good week, I feel like I'm getting on a little bit of a roll. It's going to be interesting watching games on Saturday, Sunday, and Monday this week. I kind of like it though, kind of spreads it out a little bit more, so you're not trying to keep track of a bunch of games on Sunday. But I'm excited for this week. There's some good matchups.
Yeah, Trent, you are on a bit of a roll. You finished 11 for 16 last week. I finished 9 for 16. I think that's the second straight week you've been in double digits with these picks. Trying to close the gap there. You're currently at 126 for 208, and I am at 135 for 208. And Trent and I both did pick the Chargers. We're recording this on Saturday morning before the Saturday set of games, but we did take the Chargers. So that's already one in the bank for both of us. And why don't we get started with the first game on Saturday, which is the Buffalo Bills taking on the Denver Broncos. Trent, who are you taking?
Yeah, I personally think that this game may not even be close. I know a lot of people like the Broncos underdog pick at home here, but I mean, I think the Bills have proven at this point in time that they are a legit contender to win the Super Bowl at this point. They can, give a run for their money to the Steelers, to the Chiefs. They have that type of talent. Their defense is starting to really work well. They've had some really bright spots at quarterback. They've had what's his name, Tremaine Edmonds, some other guys who have played really well. But yeah, the Bills' offense and defense is really clicking right now. I don't think the Broncos are gonna or slow that up. Taking the Bills, even though they're on the road at 4 o'clock on a Saturday.
Yeah, at this point, doesn't matter what time this game is, doesn't matter what day this game is. I'm taking the Bills by a large margin as well. Buffalo is just really coming to form as of late. I know Josh Allen had that midseason slump. He started off electric, and people were saying that he could be MVP this year. And then he had a pretty bad couple of games during the middle of that schedule, and he has really come alive as of late again, as has this defense, as you said, Trent. And that was the biggest thing for them. This defense was really good last year, and then earlier this season, they didn't show that they were playing up to the same level, and they have really ramped it up. And if this defense can continue to play as they've played over the last couple of weeks, they could be a legitimate title contender. I'm not saying they're going to win the whole thing, but everyone's talking about the Chiefs and the Steelers, who have dropped two straight, by the way, at this point. But the Buffalo Bills could definitely be a team to keep your eye on to maybe contend to make it to the AFC title game. But yeah, I'm going to take the Bills in this one as two. No surprise there. I think they win by a fair margin. Moving on to the Saturday night game, we have the Green Bay Packers taking on the Carolina Panthers, who will be without Christian McCaffrey once again. McCaffrey, man, he's just been probably the most disappointing fantasy weapon this year, just because, Saquon Barkley, obviously, torn ACL out for the year. You got guys like Michael Thomas, who's been disappointing, but we're out for most of the year as well. But McCaffrey now, it's at the point where every week people think he's going to play, and then he picks up these ticky-tack injuries again, and he's out. He's just breaking fantasy owners' hearts. But besides a fantasy perspective, Trent, who's winning this game and why?
Yeah, I mean, to be fair to McCaffrey, when he has played, he's looked like the best fantasy running back, to be completely honest with you. But he's only played like 4 times, so that's the issue there. Um, McCaffrey, no McCaffrey, it doesn't matter for me in this game. It's going to be Packers. I think it's going to be a pretty big win for them. I think Aaron Rodgers is really trying to prove this season that he's still got it. It was pretty interesting for the Packers to draft a backup quarterback in this last draft, and he's proven that there was no need for Jordan Love in this offense right now. That Rodgers, he's still got it. I really think this team, if they can get on a roll going into these last couple weeks heading into the playoffs, they're gonna make a deep run. I think they're a really hard team to beat. Aaron Rodgers, just like Tom Brady, they're really hard quarterbacks to beat in the playoffs. So I know this regular season doesn't matter. Going with Rodgers, going with the Packers, probably by a pretty big margin this week.
Yeah, I'm going to take the Packers here as well, and I think that it will be by a pretty deep margin. If the Panthers had Christian McCaffrey, this could be a different story. I think that with McCaffrey, they keep almost every game they play close because they have a lot of talent on both sides of the ball. And I'll give credit to Matt Rule. The record doesn't necessarily illustrate it, but he's found ways to keep his team in games this year. Obviously, they've dropped a couple close ones, they've won a couple close ones. I think next year we still need to see how Teddy Bridgewater fits with Christian McCaffrey and the rest of these weapons. There's obviously question marks about his availability to stay healthy and when he plays, if he can be the franchise quarterback that they're paying him $20 million a year to do. So obviously he's going to answer those questions. But as of now, this Panthers team just cannot keep up with Green Bay. And as you said, Trent, the Packers are tough to beat. And I'd be willing to say right now that Aaron Rodgers to Devontae Adams is the most dangerous connection in football. I know you could say Patrick Mahomes and Tyreek Hill, and I think that's probably the closest duo as well. But that Kansas City Chiefs team has so many other weapons that you have to keep track of them. And with the Packers, it's like it's Rodgers to Adams, 1A. And then everything else is a far drop down. But teams just cannot contain that connection. Devontae Adams is scoring in almost every game at this point. And when it's all said and done, this is going to be one of the best duos in history, in my opinion, as long as Devontae Adams can stay healthy and Aaron Rodgers can play for at least a couple more years. But yeah, I'm rolling with Green Bay. So are you, Trent. No surprise there. Moving on into the Sunday slate of games, we have the Houston Texans taking on the Indianapolis Colts, rematch of a game a couple of weeks ago where the Texans were near the goal line, driving with a chance to win that game. Deshaun Watson fumbled. I believe it was a bad snap that caused him to fumble, and the Colts ended up escaping with the victory. Who wins in this matchup?
This is a tough game for me because I really do think Deshaun Watson is a really good quarterback, and I think really good quarterbacks after having really disappointing weeks come out with a certain fire burning under them. I mean, Watson got blown out last week. I mean, Brandon Cooks was out, but you can't really blame it on just having one receiver out. I know Will Fuller was out for the season, and this offense is kind of banged up, but the last time they played the Colts, they looked like they could have gotten the win. I The Colts need this win, but I still think Deshaun Watson is the best quarterback in this matchup. Having said that, I'm gonna go with the underdog. I'm gonna go with the Texans to upset the Colts here. I know it's a bit of a stretch. I just think Watson's gonna be. He's gonna come out with a different attitude after losing to Mitch Trubisky of all quarterbacks and getting blown out by him. He's got to still prove that he is a legit quarterback, and this offseason, the Texans need to figure things out and probably work on their defense more because they're letting up 35, 40 points a game at this point. So I'm going to take the underdog. I'm going to go to the Texans on the upset, try to switch it up and close that gap with Jeff of 9 games.
Yeah, so as you predicted, I'm going to take the Colts in this one. I just think that, the Colts, they're rounding into being a legitimate contender, not title contender, but they're a tough team on both sides of the ball. Their defense has been making names for them earlier this season, and then finally the offense is starting to come around, and a large part of that is due to Jonathan Taylor's emergence as the true workhorse that this team has been looking for. They weren't necessarily giving him the carries over the first couple of games this year, and then he had that midseason drought where they seemed to go to Nyheim Hines and Jordan Wilkins before him, and a lot of people were wondering, hey, does this kid have it, or do the Colts not know what they're doing? Well, they know what they're doing over the past couple of 3 games because they've given him 20 carries, 13 carries, 22 carries, and he's turned out 150 yards and then 90 plus yards in the first 2 games other than that. So he's combined for over 300 yards in his last 3 games. So the man is on a roll, and you look at this Texans team, they're the second worst run defense in the NFL. They allow over 150 rushing yards per game. And even if they're able to contain Jonathan Taylor to a certain extent, T.Y. Hilton is on an absolute roll right now. They have got him running better routes, which I found has definitely helped him out, getting him into situations where Phillip Rivers can find him more open in the middle of the field instead of having him roll out deep. And then Nyheim Hines is one of the best change of pace backs in the NFL right now. So this Colts team cannot be slept on. Trent, I understand why you took the Texans, because Deshaun Watson, any given day, if their defense at least shows up and gets a couple of holds, he has the ability to outgun anyone who's lining up against it. But I just think that this Colts defense and this Colts offense, they are coming into form as of late, and that's why I'm rolling with Indy in this one. But I respect the take there. Moving on, we have the Detroit Lions taking on the Tennessee Titans, who look just as dangerous as ever over the last couple of weeks. Derrick Henry is a man on a mission. No one wants to tackle him. Trent, is anyone on the Lions going to get it done this week?
No one's tackling Derrick Henry. I've said throughout this season, I still think he is the most unique player in the NFL. I think he's I would give up anything to have Derrick Henry on my team just because I don't think anyone wants to tackle him. And when you have a player that no one wants to stop, he gets extra yards every single play. He's a physical specimen, and he is quite the player to watch. Yeah, no one's going to stop Derrick Henry, and no one's really stopping this offense either. I mean, AJ Brown's been looking good. Corey Davis has, come back strong this season, so that he has a real role in this offense. I think this is a legitimate team. I have more worries about their defense and their offense. Some games they let up 30, 40 points pretty quickly. We saw that against the Browns a couple weeks ago. But yeah, this Lions team has not been working together well at all. Kenny Galladay's barely played ever. Stafford's been banged up. Everyone's been banged up on this team. I think Swift even missed last week. Um, there's nothing pointing towards the Lions even trying to get an upset this week. I'm going to go with the Titans.
Yeah, I think Swift played last week, but he missed the first 2 or 3 games before that with a concussion and then an illness. But, as you said, Trent, no one's stopping Derrick Henry. Just to throw it into perspective, Derrick Henry last year led the NFL in rushing with 1,540 yards, 18 total touchdowns. Through 13 games this year, he has 1,532 yards, 8 yards shy of what he had last year to lead the NFL in rushing with 6 less attempts. They're just feeding him the ball like nobody's business. He's already got 14 touchdowns this year, and he's been pretty darn good through the air as well. 17 catches for 109 yards on top of the workload he's already getting. This dude is the most unstoppable force in the NFL right now. And that is why the Titans have a chance to beat anyone in the postseason, as they showed last year when they made a pretty deep run. And then you look at the Lions. Again, we talked about Houston having a bad run defense. Well, the Lions are right there. They allow over 130 rushing yards per game. So I wouldn't be shocked if Henry goes for 200 in this one. They gave him 25 plus carries, and there's just no way that this Lions defense is going to be able to get off the field. And a banged up Matthew Stafford, who will be playing, by the way, is not going to lead this diminished receiving corps to a victory in the limited opportunities he's going to get. There's just no possible way I see that happening. So the Titans are going to win this one by a large margin, in my opinion. All right. Moving on, we have the Chicago Bears, who finally broke their cold streak last week, taking on the Minnesota Vikings. Trent, who do you have in this matchup?
I hate to do it. I really do. I never the Bears. I don't believe in them. I don't believe in Trubisky. You know what? Actually, I'm changing my pick. I'm going with the Vikings. I can't do it. I can't do it. I'm going to put my money on Justin Jefferson, Dalvin Cook, Thielen. I don't know who I would rather have at quarterback in a big game, Kirk Cousins or Mitch Trubisky, because they're both, I don't believe, are good. Even like primetime quarterbacks, both of them never would start them. I would find, some D3 college quarterback, call them up and tell them to start the game. Yeah, I just changed my pick to the Vikings off a whim. I was going to go with the Bears, quite honestly, after they just blew out the Texans last week, because they're looking good, and the Vikings. I mean, they're home. I think that will help them a little bit. I do believe they're home. But yeah, I'm going to go with the Vikings. I think this is going to be an ugly game. I mean, it means something for both teams. I guess they're both technically still in the playoff race. So this is a big game for both teams, and I think there's more firepower on the Vikings offense than there is on the Bears offense. So I hope the Vikings just outscore the Bears at this point.
Yeah, I think that's exactly what's going to happen. I'm taking Minnesota in this matchup too. Trent, you hit the nail on the head, the coffin with this one. Both of these teams are 6-7 in the same division. The winner of this game has a legitimate chance to contend for a playoff spot, and the loser's done. That's just the reality of the situation. And which Mitch Trubisky will show up next week? Will it be the one that helped dominate the Texans last week, or will it be the Mitch Trubisky that we've seen throughout his entire career? And another big thing is the Vikings, both of these teams, they need to be able to stop the run game because obviously Dalvin Cook jumps out on the page. He's a superstar, but David Montgomery has played as well as any running back in the National Football League over the last couple of games. So the Vikings need to be able to stop the run. If they can force Mr. Trubisky to pass, I think that they can at least contain Allen Robinson to a certain extent and probably limit the damage on that front. So I'm going to roll with Minnesota in this one. I'm not particularly confident, though. I think this game could go either way. It's really all about which Mr. Trubisky and which Kirk Cousins shows up. I think the quarterbacks and the run defenses are going to be the deciding factors in this one. All right, so moving on, we have the Seattle Seahawks taking on the red-hot Washington football team. Trent, who are you taking in this one?
Unfortunately for the Redskins, Alex Smith will not be playing this week.
It's not the Redskins. I'm gonna cut you off right there. It's been happening for too long, man.
Unfortunately, Washington. I'll just say Washington will be without Alex Smith this week. I think that really does hurt their team because they've been rolling with him at quarterback. He's played through some injury already. A couple weeks ago, he got like cleated on his ankle. He was just bleeding everywhere, and this guy's still in the game doing his thing. I mean, the real in this couple of game stretch, it's really their defense that's pushed them to most of their wins. The Redskins defense has looked really, really good, and I think Russell Wilson gained some confidence back after getting a chance to play the Jets and blowing them out of the water last week. I think it's a big game for both teams. Honestly, there's a lot of games that have huge playoff implications this week. I'm gonna go with the Seahawks just because Alex Smith is out. I think if Alex Smith is in, I'd probably have a lot more confidence in the Redskins to get that because they're a home underdog. You don't see home underdogs that often. And I really like home underdogs, but when they're without their quarterback, it's kind of tough for me to choose. I'm going to go with the Seahawks. I'm going to go with the better quarterback in this matchup and hope, he doesn't throw more than 2 picks and that the Seahawks defense can get a couple stops. I mean, their defense has been playing better than they were at the beginning of the season. I'll give them credit for that. So I'll go with the Seahawks here.
Yeah, some things will never change. Trent will call Washington the Redskins probably up until next year if they ever get a different name. We'll see if he's ever able to make that change. But I agree with everything you said. If Alex Smith was the quarterback for Washington this week, I think I'd take them because they won 4 games in a row, and the Seahawks have definitely looked shaky over the last couple of contests. But with Dwayne Haskins under center, I just cannot trust this Washington offense, especially with Antonio Gibson out again due to turf toe. There are just too many factors working against the football team. And Seattle's got Russell Wilson, who, despite him playing somewhat poorly over the last couple of games, he's still Russell Wilson. He's still one of the best quarterbacks in the National Football League. He can beat any team, especially without their starting quarterback and without their starting running back. So I think Seattle is the logical choice here, although I would love to see Washington get this win because I think if they get this win this week, then they almost cement their place in the playoffs. But we'll see what happens in that game. Moving on, we have AFC matchup that is important for playoff implications for at least one of these teams. We have the New England Patriots taking on the Miami Dolphins. The Dolphins at this point, they are clinging on for dear life to that last spot in the playoffs over the Baltimore Ravens. That is really going to be between those two teams down the stretch. The Patriots will not have Damian Harris. It was just announced that he is out this week. So they're going to be rolling with Sony Michel and James White back to what their duo was 2 years ago when they made it to the Super Bowl and beat the Los Angeles Rams. And as for the Dolphins, they're going to be without Myles Gaskin again due to COVID. Salvin Ahmed is trending towards playing. He played pretty well when he was out there a couple of weeks ago before going down with a shoulder injury. The story of this Dolphins team, Trent, as we all know, we've touched upon them. We don't know if Tua Tagovailoa is better for this team than Ryan Fitzpatrick. At this point, we completely understand why they went to Tua. He's the quarterback of their future. He's been able to get it done. But Ryan Fitzpatrick makes this offense more dynamic, in my opinion, and I'm sure in your opinion as well. Coming off last week, they entered the second quarter with a lead over the Kansas City Chiefs, and then the Chiefs won on a 30-3 run over the next 2 quarters. And I'm not going to really blame that on the Dolphins. It's Patrick Mahomes. He can go on a 30-3 run against any team in the NFL. But one thing that stood out is that this Dolphins defense was able to pick off Patrick Mahomes 3 times, and he's the MVP front runner. And I think that's more picks than he had thrown heading in to that game. I don't think he had thrown 3 picks on the season. I might be wrong there. Don't sue me, but there were good flashes from this Dolphins defense, and that's been the deciding factor for them this year. And all to start it off, I'm rolling with Miami because I think that if the Dolphins are able to pick off Cam Newton 3 times, this game's going to be a blowout. The Patriots need to limit turnovers. We saw Cam Newton continuously make the wrong decision last week on Thursday night against the Rams, and it cost them. They got blown out by Los Angeles, and now they're going to be without their workhorse back. We don't know if Cam Newton has the capability of throwing the ball and winning games from behind. He's shown that he hasn't been able to do so far this year. So I think there are too many factors working against New England in this one. I am rolling with the Dolphins. What about you, Trent?
Yeah, I think the real story for this week in general is playoff teams that need their win are going to go out and get their win this week. I think the Patriots do have something to say about that, especially Bill Belichick. When Bill Belichick plays rookie quarterbacks, he puts so much pressure on them with his defense. And Tua is not going to have an easy day. It's not going to be an easy day for the Dolphins. I think it's I think it's going to be their defense that actually wins them this game. I think Cam Newton may struggle against this defense, and without Damian Harris, I don't have a lot of faith in Sony Michel, and I have that faith, in the Dolphins defense to get. They've been getting a touchdown so often this year. I think it's going to be a dogfight. I think the Dolphins pull out a close win because they need the win more than the Patriots. I think the Patriots, the reality is set in that they are not in playoff contention really anymore. They would need some crazy stuff to happen for them to make the playoffs. So I'm going to roll with the Dolphins. I wish Myles Gaskin was playing, that he's not. I also think, which is going to be really hard for them, is Mike Gesicki is also out, which is a huge factor because he's been playing really well. But Tua's have to find a way to get this W. And I'm just going with that.
Yeah, I think another thing that we didn't touch on is Devontae Parker is also limited with a hamstring injury that held him out of the second half of last week's game. So who knows if he's going to be 100%, although I think we figured that he was just going to get locked up by Stephon Gilmore all game. Anyway, so he wasn't really going to be a major factor anyway. So there are definitely, factors working against this Dolphins team. It's not going to be a gimme for them. They're definitely pretty banged up, but both of us take Miami. There, moving on, we have the Jacksonville Jaguars led by Trent's guy, Gardner Minshew, back again for the start this week. Unfortunately, he's taking on the Baltimore Ravens, led by Action Jackson. Lamar came out of the locker room just at the right time to beat the Cleveland Browns last week. That was a crazy game. All credit to Baltimore for getting that out. And, I have problems with the Browns defensive coordinator for not being able to get a stop on repeated 4th and 5s on that last drive in that one, and then letting Justin Tucker. If you let Justin Tucker get into range, it's over to end the game. Pretty much, he is the most accurate kicker in NFL history, and he's going to go down as one of the greats. But that was last week. This is this week. The Ravens are heavy favorites. I'm rolling with Baltimore. I don't think I need to go into that much detail. They're just the better team. I think that they're mostly healthy. J.K. Dobbins has emerged as their clear number one back, and Gus Edwards has filled in as a nice change of pace option for them. And Marquise Brown, as much as we hate him, and I won't call him Hollywood Brown anymore because I think he's lost the right to have that nickname. He's produced over the last 3 weeks, and I don't know if he can continue to produce, but Mark Andrews, I like him as an option this game for fantasy. As for the Jaguars, we know who they are. They're going to rely on undrafted free agent James Robinson to carry their offense, and their games live and die with him. If he's able to do well on the ground, they're going to be in games. If he's not, they're going to get blown out. So I'm rolling with Baltimore, although I think that Robinson can have another good game here. And obviously, if you have him in fantasy, you're firing him up as an RB1. Trent, what about you?
Yeah, the Ravens win this game, but I'm telling you, it's going to be close. Gardner Minshew is back. I'm really excited to see him start this week. He looked good when he came into Phil in last week. He didn't get that much time, but when he was out there, he looked pretty good. But the Ravens, they just played one of the better games I've seen for them this season. I didn't have a lot of faith in them after watching play the Pats. And they've had some weird games up and downs, but I think both the Browns. I think the Browns are a legit team, and seeing the Ravens compete with them, through adversity. I thought that was pretty impressive on their part. So yeah, I am picking the Ravens. I think that their offense will be a little too much for the Jaguars' defense, but don't be surprised if the Jaguars keep it close because they do that with good teams. They've done that, you know, with the Packers. They've done it with a bunch of teams where they lose by like 3 to 5 points. So I expect the Jaguars to give the Ravens a little bit of a scare. Gardner Minshew, he's the real deal. That's all I gotta say about that.
I think you might be the only one left on that boat about Gardner Minshew, but we'll see what happens. And with him this offseason, I think we're all expecting them to draft either Trevor Lawrence or Justin Fields, whatever happens with those first two overall picks. But yeah, I would love if the Jaguars came out and win this game because that's the only way the Patriots have a chance of getting in the playoffs at this point. The Ravens need to drop 2 out of their next 3 games, and I don't remember who they're playing last week, but it's someone that they will not lose
They
to.
they played the Jaguars, they played the Giants, and maybe the Bengals or something like
Yeah, I
that.
think it is the Bengals, and they realistically, they beat the Jaguars beat the Ravens, then maybe it can happen because I think that the Giants have the capability of beating a lot of teams, but the Bengals aren't beating anyone. So I would love if that happened. I just don't think that's gonna be the case. But moving on, we have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers taking on the Atlanta Falcons. Trent, who are you taking in this one?
We're getting down to the point of the season where the playoffs are near, and the Buccaneers do have Tom Brady at quarterback. I have more faith in him than I do anyone else in the NFL when it comes to crunch time. And the Buccaneers actually need these wins. They can't afford to drop these games. If they lose some of these games, I mean, they could definitely miss the playoffs. I don't want to see that happen for Brady or this Bucks team. They're way too talented. Um, this season. They have so much talent. They're just still trying to figure out how to get it to work on the field, which is kind of scary saying we're like 14 weeks into the season. They're still trying to figure this out. But I think against this Falcons team, a banged up defense, I think that Brady should find a lot of success here. Uh, I like this team. I hope they do well. They just need to figure out how to get all these pieces working together at the same time. But yeah, I'm going with the Bucks against the Falcons.
Yeah, Trent. As you said, it is a little scary that the Bucks are taking so long to get acclimated to this offense. But we've seen this in the past with Tom Brady. He's not the most flexible guy. At times with the Patriots, you've had new weapons come in, and he hasn't really gotten on the same page with them after like a full year. He was never on the same page with Brandon Cooks when we brought him into this offense, and then he was gone before the time that they were able to get fully comfortable. So you stick him in an entirely new situation, a completely new offense, new head coach, new weapons, new defense, new situation, new everything. I think that the people who were expecting this Bucks team to go 14-2, they didn't know Tom Brady. They didn't know how he worked. He takes time to get acclimated. He's an old man. You can't teach an old dog new tricks. So it wasn't like he was just going to come in here, fit perfectly with these guys, adapt on the run. This was always going to take time. I think that the Bucks, they have an opportunity over these next couple of games to get a few wins, be in the right mindset, trending in the right direction, heading into the playoffs, and that's what they're going to do this week. So, we said the Falcons usually play their best football when they're mathematically eliminated from the playoffs, and that may be the case, but Tampa Bay needs this win. Brady needs this win, and you know that he'll never pass up an opportunity to beat Matt Ryan in an important game. So I'm rolling with the Bucks there as well. Moving on, we have the San Francisco 49ers taking on the Dallas Cowboys. Trent, who are you taking in this matchup?
I think this is a pretty evenly matched game. The Cowboys have showed some flashes that they know what they're doing. They've also gotten blown out of the water by some teams. And the Niners have kept a lot of games close. They've had some surprising wins against some really good teams. I think they might be without Mostert this week, which would affect them. I know he's questionable right now. Oh, he's going to play. So Mostert's going to play. Uh, I'm going to end up going with the Niners here, even away at the Cowboys. I think they're the more experienced team together. They've shown more bright spots this season. I mean, they're still missing a lot of guys on both sides of the ball. Really, Kittle's still not back on offense, and on defense they're missing quite a few guys. But I like this Niners team. They figured out how to get wins this season, and I think they're going to do that again here against the Cowboys. Cowboys are an interesting team. I think they can come out and put up a lot of points on offense, but their defense can't really get the job done. And the Niners defense may be able to stop this Cowboys offense. So I'm going to go with the Niners, probably in a pretty close game, but I'll take the Niners.
Yeah, this is an interesting one for me as well because I think that the Niners are a better football team. They're a better coached football team. They have better schemes. Obviously, they have just been killed by injuries this year. And, you can say the same about the Cowboys. If Dak Prescott was the quarterback of this team, I think that they'd be in playoff contention, seriously, at this point. But obviously, Andy Dalton's the quarterback. He's done what he's had to do when he's been out there. Obviously, he's dealt with his fair share of injuries, concussions, and then COVID as well. So he definitely hasn't gotten an easy break as well. I'm actually going to roll with Dallas this week just because, Trent, you said in there, this team, they have the capability of coming in and putting up a lot of points. I think that if they come and put up 24 plus points, I'm not sure the Niners are able to match that, looking at what they've done over the last couple of weeks, especially with Nick Mullins under center, because he is just about as inconsistent as it gets. And I don't think he has any business being a starting quarterback in the NFL moving forward next year. Although I like him as a backup, he comes in, he does his job. But if Raheem Mostert was fully healthy, this would be a different story because the Cowboys have the worst run defense in the league. He's off the injury report with his ankle. They say he's ready to go. I'll believe it when I see it. I like Mostert, but who knows how they're going to handle the splits between him and Jeff Wilson. And I just think that, the Niners, they don't have the capability of throwing the ball like the Cowboys do. Deebo Samuel is out for probably the rest of the year. Brandon Ayuk's looked good, but he's going to line up against a tough corner this week. We'll see what he's able to get done. I'm taking the Cowboys in this one, but this could really go either way. All right. Moving on, we have the Philadelphia Eagles, who are led by rookie quarterback Jalen Hurts. Got the upset over the New Orleans Saints. Obviously, a big win for them last week. Obviously, they're out of title contention, but at this point, that was nice to see Jalen Hurts come out there, get the win. They're taking on the Arizona Cardinals, who are looking to find a way to stay in the playoff hunt at this point with a banged-up Kyler Murray. Their defense hasn't really been great, although they dominated the Giants last week. Trent, who are you taking in this one?
This is another game that I think can go either way. For me, it's not even Jalen Hurts. We talked about this last week, and I was like, Tua had the same situation where his first game he ended up playing a really strong defense and he got the job done. I was worried about Hurts doing the same thing with the Saints last week, and he did that. He did what he had to do. He looked pretty good, and the Eagles played really aggressive last week. They were going for it on a lot of fourth downs. They had a lot of trust in Hurts at quarterback, which I liked a lot. But the more important point from that Eagles Saints game was the Eagles defense shut down the Saints offense in the first half. And we haven't really seen that from the Eagles this year. They used to be one of the best defenses in the NFL, and they were honestly scary to play against. They showed that last week. If they can show that again this week against another good offense in the Cardinals, I think the Eagles can actually upset the Cardinals and win this game. I like Jalen Hurts. I think he probably has a lot of confidence right now. And yeah, I'm not too sure if Kyler Murray's still at full health yet because he's been afraid to run the ball as much as he was before. I think he has that shoulder injury. So I'm going to go with the Eagles underdogs away at the Cardinals. If they play like they did last week, I have some confidence in this Eagles team to actually get the job done. More or less, I'm just happy that it was proven that Carson Wentz was the issue. He is done in Philadelphia.
Yeah, Carson Wentz is done, and I don't think he's done as a quarterback in the NFL. I think he's just mentally defeated. He's gone through so much with this Eagles team. The injuries, watching Nick Foles win a Super Bowl as the starting quarterback for his team. He is just, and now seeing Jalen Hurts get the start over him and then beating the New Orleans Saints. This dude, he's just mentally out of it. He's got a lot of talent. There was a reason he was the MVP frontrunner a couple of years ago before he got hurt. He's still got a great arm. He's a good running quarterback. He's just, he doesn't belong at Philly anymore. He needs a change of scenery. Both sides needs a change of scenery at this point. So I think he'll be gone. I think he'll land with a better team next year to get the opportunity to be a starter. Who knows? Maybe even could be the Patriots. We'll see what happens in that aspect. But this week, I'm taking the Cardinals because they have to win. And I think that Kyler Murray's shown that he's a winner. Cliff Kingsbury, he doesn't necessarily put his team in the right position to win games. At this point, I liked Cliff Kingsbury coming into the season, but he has not he's not made the best decisions repeatedly in close situations this year. And Chase Edmonds is banged up. I think Kenyon Drake has shown that they're going to give him a lot of volume. He has the capability of producing. This is a pretty tough Eagles run defense, however, so we'll see how capable he is of producing. But you know what it comes down to in this one is I think DeAndre Hopkins is going to dominate Darius Slay, and Slay's been good. Make no mistake throughout this year. But Hopkins, he's due for another big week. Kyler Murray, they say he's healthy. As you said, Trent, I'll believe it when I see it. I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. It's been a couple of weeks. I'm just rolling with Arizona because they have the most to lose. And I think that they need this win. I think they'll get it done. As I said, I believe that Kyler Murray is a winner, and winners win games like this that you need to win to stay in the playoff hunt. So Trent rolls with the Eagles there. I roll with the Cardinals. Moving on, we have the New York Jets taking on the Los Angeles Rams. This one's quick and easy. It's the Jets. Take the Rams. Trent, what about you?
Yeah, it should be an easy win for the Jets this week. Playing a pretty poor Rams team. No, I'm just kidding. Rams are gonna roll the Jets. There's no way this is the game that the Jets win if they do win a game this season. It's not going to be against the Rams. This Rams team is too good on both sides of the ball. Give me the Rams.
You know, we said that. Watch the Jets come out and win this week now. You know, I'm rooting for it. I'm rooting for you, Jets, but it's not going to happen this week. All right, moving on. We have the game of the week. It's the Kansas City Chiefs taking on the New Orleans Saints, who will have Drew Brees back under center after fracturing a bunch of ribs. I think what was a punctured lung as well, or a collapsed lung. And the man is back on the field after a couple of weeks, which is absolutely nuts. He is an absolute warrior. This New Orleans offense has stalled at times with Taysom Hill under center just because he can't throw the ball like Drew Brees can. They're going to be without Michael Thomas this week, though, which is definitely going to hurt them. Obviously boosts Emmanuel Sanders and Traquan Smith's fantasy prospects, but definitely doesn't boost the Saints' odds of winning this game. Trent, who are you taking and why?
I'm going with the best team in the NFL, in my opinion, and that's the Chiefs. It's hard to pick against them. I don't really care who they play, and especially the Saints are coming off a disappointing game, defensively and offensively. I know Drew Brees is going to be back, but Michael Thomas is going to be out, which actually Drew Brees hadn't like connected well earlier in the season. Taysom Hill had a better connection with Michael Thomas, in all honesty. But I just think the Chiefs are the better team. They're the best offense in the NFL. Their defense can get the job done, and I still think the Chiefs are Super Bowl bound. I picked them from day one. I'm sticking with them, so I'll take the Chiefs here against the Saints.
Yeah, I agree. I think that this is, my preseason pick. This was my Super Bowl matchup, the Saints taking on the Chiefs. And I'm going to roll with it as of now because I think that Drew Brees comes back. If Michael Thomas can stay healthy, then it's an entirely different story. This Saints team is capable of beating anyone. That's a lot of ifs. There are a lot of factors that have to go right for the Saints. Alvin Kamara has looked great. Obviously, they've limited his touches because he's dealing with a minor foot injury. Latavius Murray's been all right. He's shown flashes, which is what he does every year. It all depends on if Drew Brees is able to come back and play like the MVP caliber quarterback we know he's capable of being. He didn't show that earlier this year, and the Saints were still able to get wins, but Brees was not playing as well as he had played in prior years, and that's just definitely him showing his age. You know, he's over 40 at this point. Not everyone can be Tom Brady and play to his age without showing serious signs of decline. It's going to happen. Father Time is the enemy of all, and I'm rolling with the Chiefs in this one as well. They're the better team. I don't think with Michael Thomas out that Drew Brees is capable of outgunning Patrick Mahomes. I'm not sure even if Michael Thomas played, he'd be capable of doing so. And the Saints, they have one of, if not the best defenses in the NFL. So they're capable of shutting Patrick Mahomes down better than anyone, but I don't think they will. It just comes down to that. There are too many weapons on this Chiefs offense. And, even if they did hold Mahomes to say like around 300 yards and 2 touchdowns, what's saying they're able to stop Clyde Edwards-Helaire or Le'Veon Bell on the ground this week? I'm not saying that's going to happen. These are 2 capable running backs, and they just haven't shown it this year because Mahomes has been so dynamic through the air. So I'm rolling with the Chiefs in this one, same as you, Trent. And we are on to the final 2 matchups of the week. We have the Cleveland Browns taking on the New York Giants, who will be without Daniel Jones, Colt McCoy getting the start this week, and it's Freddie Kitchens calling plays against his former team. Trent, I'll throw it to you first. Who are you taking?
Yeah, it's going to be the Browns this week. The Giants defense, I still respect. I still think their defense works well together. They've done a really good job. Cornerbacks, safeties on that side of the ball. They played amazingly together this season. They really surprised a lot of people. But the Browns' offense is clicking right now. They went from scoring like games with like 7 and 10 points, somehow winning or losing by like a touchdown, to dropping 40 points a game. Baker Mayfield has figured something out with this offense. He has his swagger back. He is feeling himself right now. Do not bet against the Browns. Even though they lost last week, they played a really, really good game. I thought they were gonna end up winning the game. That last play with the safety, that was kind of crazy, but I like this Browns team a lot right now. No reason to bet against them at all. And Colt McCoy is not going to beat the Browns. I really hope he doesn't beat the Browns. So yeah, I'm gonna go with the Browns.
Yeah, I don't see any way Colt McCoy is beating the Browns. Obviously, they lost to the Ravens in a high-scoring affair last week, but this team has the best 1-2 punch in the NFL. Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt. They showed it last week. Baker Mayfield is coming into form. This defense is playing all right, and they're just going to steamroll the Giants this week. So, Trent, we're into our final matchup of the week, and something tells me this is going to be a quick one, too. We have the Pittsburgh Steelers taking on the Cincinnati Bengals. The Steelers, they've dropped 2 games in a row, but I'm taking them this week. This is a statement game for them. They need to come out and win by 20 plus to show people that they're capable of being the dominant Steelers team we saw earlier this year. And I think that they will without a lot of problems. Trent, what about you?
There should be no issues in this game. The Steelers should really outpower everything over the Bengals. The Bengals, their season's been over once Joe Burrow got out or got hurt. It's done for the Bengals. They're just there to have fun at this point. Bengals are here to try to win a champion. I mean, sorry, Steelers are here to try to win a championship. So I'm going with the Steelers in pretty convincing fashion this week.
Yeah, so that's going to wrap up our matchups for this week. Before we wrap things up, Trent, I'll throw it to you because you have our lock of the weeks, I guess, again.
Yeah, I wanted to. Last week we did our best bets. I was the only one to actually win their best bet, but hopefully we can change that this week. I don't know if Nick had chosen one or not for this week, but we'll forget about that and throw it to you, Jeff. What's your best bet for this week?
Yeah, so I took the Jets last week by I think like 17 and a half points. I made the mistake that time. I think they have the same spread. I'm not doing that again. So I'm going to roll with the Bills minus 5.5. Trent, you and I both said that we think they're going to steamroll the Broncos Saturday afternoon here, at least in Eastern time. And I don't see them having a problem doing so. So I think they'll win easily by more than a touchdown. That is my lock. What about you?
Yeah, I'm gonna go with the bet that I think is the smartest. I would have taken the Browns. They actually just took them off. And I'm gonna assume they're adjust their line now that Daniel Jones has been announced that he's not gonna be playing this game. So that line is probably gonna go to like 8. But I think the Chiefs -3 is the smartest and safest bet this week, just because the Chiefs are going to win this game, in my opinion. And if they win it, it'll be by at least 3. So if they win by 3, well, it's a push. Anything over that, it's gravy. I'll be buying half a point, but we just go by, what the spreads are at right now. So Chiefs -3, that's my lock. I just see, I mean, if they win, it's going to be by at least 3. So at worst, you get a push, and then anything more than that, and it's a win. So I'm going to go with the Chiefs.
All right, so those are our locks of the week, and that is going to wrap things up for this episode of the Rollout. Trent, just you and I, but felt good getting back to the good old days. We'll see how we do. You got to make up a lot of ground to catch me for the rest of this season, and that is going to do it. Everyone, enjoy the weekend. Enjoy Saturday, Sunday, and Monday night football. We got a full schedule of games slated. There are going to be a couple of good ones, major playoff implications. Good luck to everyone with their respective fantasy endeavors. Trent, as always, great having you on, talking football with you, and we'll see how these picks do this week. Stay safe, everyone.